Hello and welcome to another Succeed with Dyslexia interview. We have another fantastic guest with you today. We're very, very excited to have John with us, sharing the incredible work that he's done, the incredible work that he's doing, and again, around his kind of dyslexia story as well. So my name is Darren Clark. I'm the Managing Director of Succeed with Dyslexia. We're a global movement to make more awareness for dyslexia on a global scale. So that's a little about me and more about my incredible guest today. So John, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us again, your name and a little bit about yourself. That'd be amazing. And thank you for your time.
No, thank you for inviting me. Yeah, my name's John Crawshaw, and I guess I'm the most unlikely author because I've struggled with dyslexia for over 50 years. And of course, when I was at school back in the 1970s, it wasn't recognized. And I struggled with that. I was told that I was lazy and stupid and all those things that go with it. I'm sure many people relate to that. And of course, that was confusing because I didn't feel any of those things. So the sort of mental health issues that accompanied that for me were quite strong.
Yeah.
Really low self-esteem, no self-confidence, anxiety. And, I've struggled with those for many, many, many years.
No, absolutely.
And, in a way, I sort of got to know myself over those years and really wanted to try and help other people to see that, these issues are not uncommon. And actually, dyslexia really is an incredible thing to have. And for me, it inspired me to actually write a book, which was the craziest thing because I never actually read a fictional book in my life. And I could never understand why anyone would want to do that for pleasure. It was a struggle.
We're pleased. We're definitely pleased that you did. And being dyslexic myself, I can understand the struggles with this. And again, to write a book is incredible enough. But the books that the book that you wrote is incredible, and having dyslexia as well. I guess it just goes to show, doesn't it, that we do put certain barriers on things, and we feel, that although that we find things a struggle, there are some incredible things that we can achieve throughout.
Well, I think as dyslexics, we're used to actually getting our way around those objects. It makes us extremely resourceful. I know that from myself. I know that from other dyslexics that I know, is that we just have this inherent ability to make things work, to step around. It usually comes from covering up. Certainly from my experience, I didn't want anyone to know that I had problems, so I covered it up, and that gave me incredible resourcefulness. I completely agree.
John, thank you so much again for sharing this. John, did you go down, with regards to your own dyslexia, did you go down the route of being diagnosed with dyslexia? Did you always, was that kind of a later stage, or was it an early stage, or was it just you kind of always knew there was something with that, that resembled with dyslexia?
Yeah, no, very much at a later stage, very much only in the last few years, in fact. So, I always knew that there's something very different, and it's been a huge battle. I didn't know exactly what it was. Obviously, I knew that reading and writing were a big issue for me.
Yeah.
I think because I've just got this tenacious attitude that I tried to battle on with it. And then when I actually, realized that I was dyslexic, it opened up a whole new world.
That's so with regards to school then, we're obviously is it primary school, secondary school? Was there kind of university? Was there college after that? Or how was kind of school for you, if you don't mind?
School, I hated every single second I was at school.
I can relate.
It was awful.
Yeah. I can relate to that.
Can you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
I think like other dyslexics, I need to know the whole picture. It's no good telling me that you just do this or that equation does that. I need to know why. I need to know the whole picture. And school never really did that for me. And of course, I was always behind. And then I was always worried about making a mistake and looking like a fool. And So I switched off really. And what happened to me was quite an incredible thing. When I was reading or trying to read, especially at school, I never really saw the words. I used to see the white spaces in between. And those, the title of my book is The Void Between Words, because it was these spaces, these patterns that I used to go into, and that was the world I existed in. It sounds crazy, but it was a lot easier than trying to see those black letters.
I can relate to that, because with regards, because when we have, certain things sent over and we're looking at things, I always mention the spacing between the words. And I only had a kind of a conversation the other day, and I said, the fact is, otherwise, if it's just all emolumentated, it looks as though someone's just got a felt tip and just gone across, but the spacing of those words is so powerful for us to kind of be able to then decide, decode it in a certain way. So it's really fascinating that, when you say about those spaces.
Yes, yeah. And I think actually it's a lot deeper than that for me, because it was an area which I could escape the reality. But it also became a place where I sort of got in touch with my subconscious brain in a way.
Wow, okay.
Which is, it's quite a deep thing. And, we can leap onto juggling at some point if you want, but I get the same thing when I'm juggling. I sort of switch off to everything else, and I can kind of talk to my subconscious brain, and that's the way I've helped myself.
Absolutely. And I guess it is. I mean, we take dyslexia is if you mention something around dyslexia, trying to create some awareness, and people are not, familiar with this. The two things that they would ultimately say was reading and writing was the two things that you kind of, say struggle with. I wouldn't use, struggle, but, we find things certain challenge in the way that it's set up. But there is so much more, isn't there? In the sense that, the emotional side of it, the confidence side of it, the mental health side of it, there's the continuous thinking of how you can tackle this task a completely different way. And again, inside that, it brings up anxieties. And it is the struggle, because if I'm sent something and it's a big, huge list of things that I need to kind of do and a task, that would feel straight away overwhelming. And I would kind of just think, okay, so how do I break this down? And breaking it down would be probably one of the biggest exercises, then probably completing some of the tasks. So absolutely. I agree with the juggling side of it could be really difficult.
Well, I think, throughout my life, I've gone for careers that I thought wouldn't involve a lot of reading and writing. I'm a tree consultant. I work with trees. Nature has been a hugely powerful influence on my life, and in particular, communicating with trees. So we could have an entirely different conversation about that. But, I've avoided those jobs that I thought I would have to read and write. And then over the years, I gradually came to terms with the fact that actually I could read and write really slowly, and I had a lot to learn, and my spelling is absolutely atrocious. And I can spell a word one day and I can't the next, all the usual things. But I came to terms with myself, and I realized that actually I was a capable person.
Yeah.
And I think that was the most important thing. I thought I can hold down a job. I can communicate with people. I might do it at a different speed, at different levels, but I can actually do it. Yeah. And I think that was a huge confidence boost when I realized that actually it was okay to be me, and it was okay to just do it the way that I do it. And I don't have to conform to what society and school say I necessarily have to do. And actually that empowerment, was like me releasing me out the void. It was incredible.
I bet it is. And I guess if we take the educational system as such, there are a lot of restrictions within this. And it's not until we can, come out of the educational system, go into the workplace and I guess kind of choose where our kind of, we self-assess, I guess, where our kind of skills set. And then we hope that we can kind of move into that area of workplace. It does become, as you say, quite difficult in the sense of if education isn't the kind of the path, it wasn't for me, then leaving school with maybe, not the greatest education or grades, it does have a kind of a knock-on effect to try and, to get to that kind of next level. How did you get into trees and obviously, working in that? Was that something that you found a kind of a passion with kind of growing up with nature, and then how did that kind of process work? Was it early on after leaving school, if you don't mind asking?
Yeah, right from being a young boy, I would just seek solace within trees. They seemed like a safe place for me to be. There was one tree in particular I used to climb, and when I was having problems, I would go in there and not know what I was doing. I wasn't consciously thinking about things, or even that the trees were helping me. It was just a place that was good for me to be. And as a result of that, I just always felt safe with trees. Yeah. And then I had an incredible experience with a tree back in my 40s. It was a particularly difficult time for me in many ways. And this tree sort of reached out. It didn't talk to me. It just sort of gave me an energy. Yeah. An incredible energy, in fact. And it was something that I couldn't ignore. I'm no expert on it, but I think that actually, anyone can benefit from being out in nature. Yeah. I think being in touch, we are just animals at the end of the day. We're part of the ecology of the planet. Sometimes we think as humans, we're kind of superior to it in many ways, but actually we're not. We're absolutely in it. And once we're able to tune into the sort of natural energy flows. And for me, it just was such a powerful thing that, I go back to it time and time again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm always a massive advocate of, going out into nature, literally, taking, technology and parking it for half an hour to an hour. And one of the things I've been doing kind of recently, I mean, I love photography. So I love the kind of amateur photography, but wildlife photography. So I will love taking a picture of, say, a duck flying or something coming into landing or taking off. So it's those action shots it's doing. So it's either taking off or, a swan or something. But I always find that moment of looking through the lens of the camera with no other technology and just purely focusing on that one moment of watching this amazing, animal in nature. It's just literally that connection is second to none, because it's just you, it's the camera, it's the lens, it's seeing what nature is going to be doing, and then activating. So that for me is really, really powerful, and I'd love to do that.
Well, I wonder if it's the same for you with me. I think that we, just going back to your previous comment about school, obviously there is help within schools now, like there wasn't when we were at school, and that's all great. If you think that that success in life is having lots of money and, having a high-powered job, well, actually, for me, that's never been the case. I think everyone's got a skill out there, whether it's photography, whether it's tree knowledge or whatever. You will have a skill and it will be valuable, whatever it is, whether it's caring for someone, whether it's looking after yourself, even the best you can. You will have a skill. And to me, nature it just brings everything down to that level. It says what's actually important in life. Actually, a duck flying off the water is an incredible thing. You don't have to have a Lamborghini. Actually, in a lot of cases, just being by the water it just says, life's actually quite simple, really.
And we do have, you're absolutely right. We do have these kind of expectations, I guess, of what is success. And success to someone is, what success is for me is different for someone else, and it's different for someone else, and so on and so on. And it is that kind of, what do you deem to success? And I guess with the way that the media kind of works and the way that kind of, society works in the Western world for us, I guess, is that monetary value. It's deemed on how successful with what you drive or how you wear your clothes or, the latest gadgets and all these things. And do you know what I've learned from speaking to you today is you're absolutely right that nature doesn't care whether you've came to the field in a Lamborghini or a Ford Focus. It doesn't matter. Well, once you get there, nothing wrong with any of those cars, but I'm just saying when you get there, it's you in the moment within nature, and that has a massive impact on me with mental well-being and mental health, because that moment where you can kind of just how many times do we just look up? When we're walking around and just look up, we live in a society now where we're continuously looking down at our gadgets, and that moment where you can just kind of just look up and take in the surroundings, the bird singings, and just, those senses, isn't it? Those nature senses.
Those senses, yeah. I think it's just about, priority and, sense of where you are at that particular time. It just helps me to be grounded. I know grounded is a bit of a, what does grounded mean? But actually, it's just being in the now and realizing who you are and where you fit in. It was important for me to realize where I fitted into society. I never felt like I ever did.
Yeah.
And that was part of my mental health. I just felt odd and out of sync with everyone else. But if you sort of bring it back to the basics, you realize that you're in charge of your own destiny, and you being you is just great. Get on and do you.
What a wonderful feeling, isn't it? To understand, your own kind of true value, and then showcase that to the world. That's that's a special thing, to be able to do.
Yeah.
So you wrote a book, and it's an incredible book. And can you tell me kind of from a dyslexic point of view, because when we put this content out to the channel, we want to kind of speak to people, with dyslexia and people that are working with dyslexia, but also people that don't really, still kind of learning and educating themselves around dyslexia. What was the kind of the process like writing a book, being dyslexic? Could you share just a couple of sort of thought patterns or how you've kind of worked around that?
Yeah, it was a shock to me as anyone else, really, because I'd been frightened of words. I never wrote anything. I still struggle with hand to pen.
Okay.
Hand to pen. I can't read my own writing. No one's got a chance of reading my writing. I still do with all my letters. I used to think I was being extremely helpful with spelling by putting every letter that I thought might fit, just so that they could pick the ones that were right.
I'm only laughing because I can completely relate to that so much. That's the only reason I'm laughing. Sorry.
Yeah, I couldn't understand why people weren't grateful that I'd actually helped them out there, but so what I think computers have helped me hugely.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's spell checking on there, but I've learned from the spell check. I don't just let it bail me out. Over time, I do clock what it's actually doing, and and try and move on. For me, it was waking up in the early hours of the morning. I just had these words. I don't know whether I'd kept it in for so long. It was just bursting to come out. And when I put my fingers on the computer, I can make it happen. And I think the important thing for anyone who might be thinking about writing something, or even not thinking about writing something, but just want to express themselves, is just to do something. Write something, whether it's a line that's in your head, or, for me, it was kind of like a poetry thing that came out of those early hours. And I just wrote them down, didn't know what they meant. They didn't necessarily connect with each other. They were just probably my thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
And then I thought, actually, this could connect together when I, later on down the line. And that's how the book started to unfold.
That's incredible. And I guess if we were to, we speak about juggling things and some things that become overwhelming, and it's amazing the way that you describe it, breaking it down. Look, I woke up, I kept having these kind of, these thoughts about different words. So I was just writing those down. And that structure enabled you to then later create the book. So it wasn't initially, I'm going to write a book today and sit there, chapter 1, page 1, because that all in all would have just, it would blow my mind if someone said, right, write a book. But it's amazing how you start with the words. You start with the words of this, and then it's a case of, okay, so how can that formulate, and how can that, move on over a period of time?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it's 90,000 words. I mean, when I think about that, 9 words is often a struggle. So, no, I couldn't have ever set out with that as a goal. I think I've just been so sort of anxious and pent up for so long that it just had to come out, and it was a cathartic thing for me to do. But I thought, actually, you know what? If somebody else accesses this and relates to it in some way and just feels empowered, that dyslexia is not a bad thing. and it's actually a really good thing in a way, then great. And that's what inspired me to just keep going with it. And it took a long time. It wasn't something I did in a matter of weeks.
Yeah, I can imagine it was. And then were you kind of like second guessing and kind of, should I put that or should I put that? And how did it kind of finish off as a book? Was there, at what stage of writing did you think, actually, this is a book? This is definitely going to be a book?
I think when I just started getting excited about it. It wasn't frightening me anymore. It was just like, okay, this is there was some depth to it.
Yeah.
And my heart was sort of racing, and I was thinking, okay, what's the next bit? And really just coming from my heart, speaking from my heart. So it wasn't necessarily a difficult thing to do, because it was just me being honest for once about my issues.
And that's the really powerful thing. And one of the things that we do within Succeed, and I've been doing, for many years as well, is I always feel it starts with, the awareness and creating that conversation, speaking to people. And then kind of, I always remember in the business world, kind of 10, 15 years ago when I started speaking about dyslexia, it was so unknown and it was kind of frowned upon in certain aspects in the business world. And you're all, the workplace, you're thinking, can you tell people you're dyslexic? Is it going to damage your career or anything like this? And it's amazing the amount of conversations we're having now and showcasing the amazing things that we're doing. You coming on here today and speaking out about, writing a book, being an author, and the incredible things that you're doing, it starts the conversation, and it starts to inspire even more people, which is amazing.
I think that's absolutely incredible. The work that you do to get that information out there and to reach as many people as possible is really what we've got to do. And everyone's got their own story. We're all very different in our abilities and our capabilities, but I think we've got to realize we're not just us dyslexics realize that it's okay, but also the wider world to say, we're not going to be prejudiced against people that are slightly slower at reading, or put 100 letters in one word just because or whatever. It's to make it acceptable. We're all different in this world, and everyone's got something to offer.
Bless you, thank you. Likewise, and we're when you say we're all different in this world, I mean, how wonderful is that? Because ultimately, if we're all the same and everything's doing all the same, they say variety is the spice of life, and we just need to kind of keep having those conversations and getting those messages out. John, we're coming up close to our time. I could speak to you for hours. We would love to come back and revisit and have more conversations about the work that you're doing, your book. If people would like to purchase the book or get in touch with you, what is the best way people can do that?
Well, the book's available through all the bookstores. It's probably quickest to get it through Amazon. If you don't mind me showing the cover,
please do.
Can recognize it. The Void Between Words. So Amazon. But it's also available in audiobook.
Wonderful.
So I really didn't want to alienate anyone with this. So if you feel that it's a chore to read that, it is available on audiobook. You can listen to it. I teamed up with a great guy who. Alan, who did the narration for me, and you can just sit back and relax and listen to that. So yeah, it's out there. Or my my website is jacrawshaw.com. And I'd be happy to hear from anyone. If anyone's got any thoughts and feelings about writing books and the sort of things we've talked about, I'd be happy to hear from them.
John, that would be absolutely incredible. I will be definitely downloading your book as an audiobook. Personally, for me, I love listening to audiobooks, so I'll definitely be downloading that, and I can't wait to listen/read your incredible book. John, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. We will definitely be back to revisit you if that's okay.
Sure.
Have an incredible rest of the day, and again, thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video as much as we did putting it together. Now, we have some more fantastic content for you. Please feel free to click this link here and learn more about Laura Ruckert, a book author who decided to give her main character Dyslexia. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching.